Hello, family. Enjoy this great and beautiful moment with Afri Stories. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. It means the world to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones, and don't miss future videos from us. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. In the heart of Benin City, where the Harmattan wind carried whispers of ancient secrets and the scent of kola nuts hung heavy in the air, lived a woman named Amaka. She was a kind of beauty that halted time, her skin a deep, lustrous ebony, her eyes glinting like polished amber in sunlight, and her smile so radiant that even the most hardened street hawkers paused their cries to watch her pass. From the moment she appeared on a crowded street, the world seemed to tilt in her favor. Taxi drivers cut their engines mid-honk. Vendors set aside their merchandise, and curious onlookers fell silent as if paying homage to royalty. Yet for all this adoration, Amaka moved through the city like a queen surveying her kingdom, never once betraying the flutter of her heart. It was said that men traveled from far-flung villages, across state lines, braving bumpy roads and dodging bandits, just for a fleeting glimpse of her walking past the market stalls. Some claimed they paid exorbitant sums for a single photograph, while others insisted they'd trade their only possession for a moment in her presence. But Amaka never solicited attention. It followed her as naturally as the rivers flowed to the sea. Behind her regal posture and cool composure, however, lay a conviction that set her apart. She did not believe in love. One balmy evening, as the sun dipped behind the red-tiled rooftops and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Amaka and her best friend, Yemi, sat in a secluded courtyard. Lanterns strung between mango trees cast dancing shadows on the whitewashed walls. Cicadas chirped their evening chorus, and the distant hum of generators blended with laughter from neighboring homes. Yemi, a lanky young man with a ready grin, poured them each a goblet of palm wine. He watched Amaka through the flickering light, curiosity burning in his dark eyes. "Amaka," he began, lowering his voice as if the walls might eavesdrop, "why do you never settle? You have them wrapped around your finger. Why not pick one and be done?" Amaka took a slow sip of her wine, savoring the sweet, fermented tang. She leaned back in her chair, crossing one leg over the other with deliberate grace. "Why have one when 10 are ready to build you a mansion?" she replied, her tone calm, almost clinical. "A queen doesn't settle for a servant." Yemi set down his goblet, his brow furrowing. "But doesn't it hurt them? Don't you feel guilty?" She smiled, but it was a smile without warmth. "Do network providers feel guilty when you run out of airtime? Love is a service. I provide premium service." Her words were neither cruel nor callous. They were a statement of fact. To her, love was currency, and she its shrewdest investor. Over the next weeks, tales of Amaka's exploits spread through Benin City like wildfire. At the landmark event center, guests whispered that she had been seen at 5 different VIP lounges in one night. At the National Museum Cafe, chatter revolved around the love subscription plan she had supposedly devised. Even local tabloids ran front-page stories, speculating on her next move. Yet Amaka remained aloof, as if above the gossip she had inspired. In truth, she had built an empire of hearts, each man an unwitting patron funding her lifestyle. There was Chief Ease, a retired civil servant who wired her money for consultation sessions that consisted of nothing more than Amaka's company and a shared cup of cocoa. There was Hugo, the young banker who covered her spa bills in exchange for her advice on investment opportunities. There was Amaka, the tech entrepreneur who sent her the latest smartphones. 5 in total, each reserved for a different suitor, so she could keep all her clients connected. Yet among them, no one held her heart because she had never given it away. One afternoon, as the city sweltered under a scorching sun, Amaka's apartment buzzed with activity. 5 phones sat on her mahogany desk, each blinking with missed calls and unread messages. She wore a simple white dress that contrasted with her dark skin, and her hair was pulled back to reveal a slender neck adorned with a single strand of pearls. Yemi entered, surveying the scene with a mixture of awe and concern. "You really have 5 phones?" he asked, gesturing at the desk. Amaka waved a hand, dismissing the spectacle. "Each one serves a purpose," she explained. One for Chief Ease, one for Hugo, one for Amaka, one for Friday dinners, one for emergencies. She tapped the emergency phone. That one gets 200,000 Nigerian nairas whenever I need it. It's like having an insurance policy. Yemi shook his head. But what about love? Isn't there room in your life for something genuine? She stood and walked a window, gazing out at the bustling street below. Love is a luxury, she said softly, turning back to him. And luxuries are earned, not given. Her eyes, usually so controlled, flickered with something darker, ambition, perhaps, or a hint of loneliness she refused to acknowledge. Yemi hesitated, then spoke the question that had been on his mind for weeks. Aren't you afraid someone will expose you? Amaka's lips curved into a confident smile. Only if they're clever enough, she said. But I've covered my tracks. No one suspects a queen of deception. Yet as Yemi left her apartment that day, a sliver of doubt lingered in her mind. In the hush of her rooms, surrounded by luxury and adoration, she wondered whether her heart, shielded for so long, might one day become her undoing. And somewhere unseen, a quiet observer was already taking note of every detail, preparing for the moment when Amaka's carefully constructed kingdom would finally crack. Amaka's strategy was not just instinct. It was a calculated business model, perfected over time. She called it her love subscription plan. Just like Netflix or Spotify, her attention came in monthly packages. No freebies, no trials. If you wanted Amaka's presence, you had to pay for it. Simple and direct. Her bedroom was her command center. On her nightstand sat 5 smartphones, all charged and arranged like trophies. Each had a different ringtone. One chirped like a bird. One played Davido's Unavailable. Another buzzed with a custom voice note. Your queen is calling. She'd trained herself to recognize who was contacting her, without even looking. Her bed was scattered with ATM receipts, unopened gifts, and a diary where she tracked each man's payments. Tier 1 was the simplest, data and lunch. This was for her weekday companion, Collins, a junior architect with dreamy eyes and a heart too soft for Lagos life. For 5,000 Nigerian nairas a week, he ensured her phone stayed connected and her belly full during office hours. They never talked about real things. Just memes, small talk, and frequent compliments. Tier 2, Friday dinner. David, a real estate agent with money to burn, made sure every Friday night was fancy. Sushi, fine wine, rooftop dinners with candlelight. He was a romantic type. In exchange, he got her company from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., never later. She made that clear. Tier 3, spa days, sponsored by Olamide, a married businessman who claimed to have an understanding with his wife. He funded her monthly spa rituals, massages, facials, pedicures, everything. 50,000 Nigerian nairas every month, without fail. Tier 4, emergency fund. This was where the big money came in. Alhaji Musa, a widower in his late 50s, was her silent ATM. He rarely called or asked for time. But whenever she texted, something urgent has come up, 200,000 Nigerian nairas would land in her account like clockwork. She used them sparingly. Like vintage wine he had to last. Yemi, her ever-curious friend, was the only one who knew the full extent of the plan. One Sunday afternoon, as they sipped pineapple juice on her balcony, he finally asked a question that had been burning inside him for weeks. You know this isn't sustainable, right? Amaka took off her sunglasses and looked at him, one brow raised. What isn't? This whole subscription thing. What happens when one of them finds out? Or worse, when all of them do? She laughed, not her usual delicate chuckle, but a full, hearty laugh. My dear Yemi, these men are not looking for truth. They're looking for fantasy. And I am that fantasy. As long as I play my role, they'll never question the script. He wasn't convinced. Still, people talk. Screenshots fly. One wrong text, and boom, your castle crumbles. Amaka leaned closer, her voice lower. That's why I never repeat the same lie. Each man gets a version of me tailored to his desire. You think David and Collins are looking for the same thing? No. David wants elegance. Collins wants sweetness. Olamide wants escape. I give each man what he's missing. Yemi paused. And what about you? What do you get? She smiled sadly. Peace. Independence. Control. That word, control, was the heart of it all. Amaka had grown up watching her mother cry over a man who left with their savings. She had learned early that love, when given too freely, could be a weapon. So she built armor out of charm and wit. She weaponized her beauty. Love had failed her mother. It would not fail her. But cracks were beginning to form. One evening, Collins called her sobbing. Amaka, I think I love you. She froze. No, Collins, don't ruin this. I mean it. I think about you all the time. I even told my sister about you. Stop, she snapped. We have an understanding. Let's not confuse reality with what this is. He was quiet. Then, slowly, he hung up. She stared at the phone for a long time after. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Later that week, Olamide sent a message. My wife saw your name. We have to pause for now. Amaka blinked. Pause? That word had never entered the plan. That was a Tier 3 fallout. She picked up the spa phone and sighed. Next. But the most unsettling moment came days later, during Friday dinner. David was unusually quiet, poking at his food. Is everything okay? She asked, swirling her wine. He looked up slowly. Amaka, who was that man you hugged outside the Palms last week? Her grip on the glass tightened. Which man? Tall, bearded, yellow shirt. She smiled quickly. Oh, that's my cousin. Why? He didn't respond, just nodded, then said something that made her heart skip. I know I'm not the only one, but I wonder if I'm even in the top 5. She forced a laugh. You're being paranoid, David. He placed his napkin down gently. Maybe, but even paranoia has roots. That night, Amaka sat in her room, surrounded by the blinking lights of her 5 phones, and for the first time, she felt cornered. Yemi's voice rang in her head. One wrong text, and boom, your castle crumbles. She shrugged it off and went to bed, whispering to herself, Queens don't fall over rumors. But what she didn't know was that one of her men was no longer playing to win her love. He was playing to watch her fall. In the chessboard of Amaka's life, most men played checkers. Fast, reckless moves. Flashy gifts. Loud declarations. But Chaik played chess. Slow, deliberate, and deadly. He was a quiet one in the background, never competing, never flattering. He was there, but barely noticeable. And that's what made him dangerous. Chaik was first introduced to Amaka at a tech networking event. She didn't notice him at first. Why would she? He wasn't wearing a gold chain, didn't drive a Benz, and didn't call her queen like the rest. But while others flocked to her, Chaik stood back and watched. When he finally approached, he didn't say much. Just, you don't belong here, with a slight smirk. Amaka raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You belong somewhere bigger, he added. This place is too small for someone like you. She blinked. It wasn't flirtation. It was observation. And for the first time in a long time, she was intrigued. Their interactions were brief but memorable. Unlike the others, Chaik didn't call or text every hour. He sent a meme here, a quote there. When they met, he listened more than he spoke. And when he did speak, it was with precision. I don't compete, he once told her. I just observe and act when the time is right. That should have been her warning. Chaik knew something was off from the beginning. He wasn't blinded by Amaka's beauty. He admired it, yes. But more than that, he was curious. Curious about how someone so poised, so enchanting, always seemed emotionally unavailable. So he started collecting pieces. At first, it was just for fun, small screenshots of her public Instagram comments. The thank you, baby replies to different men. But curiosity evolved into something else when he accidentally overheard her on a call. He'd stopped by her apartment one evening to drop off a USB flash drive she'd forgotten at an event. Her door was open, music playing softly. Before he could knock, he heard her voice, laughing flirtatious, slightly mocking. Babe, you just sent 200,000 Nigerian nairas? Aha, These men don't learn. Honestly, I'll marry this one and keep you for emergencies. Chaik froze. The words hit him like a slap. She wasn't just playing men. She was mocking them, profiting from them, treating their affections like ATM withdrawals. He backed away, unnoticed, and left a flash drive at the door. From that moment on, it became a project. Every message she sent, he saved. Every voicemail, every screenshot, every transfer alert she bragged about, he cataloged them meticulously. Dates, timestamps, recipients. It wasn't difficult. Amaka was careless in her confidence. She thought everyone adored her, that no one would ever dare confront her. But Chaik wasn't interested in confrontation. He wanted collapse. He befriended Collins under a fake name in a Telegram group, got David talking at a bar, pretending to be a fellow heartbroken lover, even managed exchange banter with Olamide's driver, who spilled more secrets than he realized. With each encounter, Chaik gathered more dirt, and as he pieced the puzzle together, a picture formed, not just of Amaka's actions, but the web of lies she spun to hold her kingdom together. Yet for all his planning, Chaik wasn't cruel by nature. He was methodical, but not heartless. Somewhere deep inside, he wished she'd stop, that she'd change, that she'd wake up and see the damage she was causing. But she didn't. Instead, she doubled down. New phones, more men, bigger dinners, louder laughs. It was as if she believed herself untouchable. One day, as they sat at a cafe sipping cappuccinos, Chaik asked her, "Don't you ever get tired of pretending?" Amaka tilted her head, amused. Pretending what? That this performance is who you really are. She narrowed her eyes. Are you judging me now? No, he said softly. I'm just observing. She chuckled. Then observe this. Survival isn't always pretty, Chaik. Some of us weren't raised with options, so we make the best of what we have. He nodded, sipping his coffee. Fair. But just remember, even the best masks crack. That was the last time they spoke face to face. The next few weeks, Chaik focused on timing. He knew Amaka's wedding was near. He didn't know the groom personally, but he knew enough. Rich, prominent, madly in love. A perfect target. It had to be public. It had to be irreversible. So Chaik compiled a file, labeled every folder, edited the videos, cleaned the audio, and then he arranged for the ultimate reveal, a pre-scheduled video upload on a secure drive, set to go live the moment Amaka walked down the aisle. He even wrote the caption himself, "The Queen's True Kingdom." But in the nights leading up to it, doubt crept in. Was he doing the right thing? Or was his vengeance dressed as justice? He sat in his dimly lit room, watching the video loop one more time, Amaka laughing in bed, boasting about her scams, screenshots of men she'd ridiculed, voice notes dripping with disdain. He closed his eyes. Let the truth speak for itself, he whispered. He didn't want to ruin her life. He wanted to free the men trapped in her illusion. The wedding was 3 days away, and the timer was already ticking. It was the wedding of the year. Even before dawn, Benin City buzzed with anticipation. The streets near Royal Crest Banquet Hall were cordoned off. Security guards stood at every corner. Influencers were already live-streaming their outfits, and reporters from local TV stations fought for space under sun umbrellas. The bride's name was on everyone's lips. Amaka. She had done it. She'd secured the ultimate crown jewel. Obi Nwachukwu, the oil tycoon's only son. Rich, reputable, charming, and madly in love with her. Inside the grand hall, golden chandeliers shimmered like falling stars. Fresh roses from Kenya perfumed the air. The cake stood 6 tiers high, draped in edible gold. The bride's seat, a velvet throne encrusted with rhinestones, looked fit for royalty. Every detail screamed wealth, opulence, power. Backstage, Amaka stood in front of a full-length mirror, dressed in a custom ivory gown that hugged her silhouette like silk on skin. Her makeup was perfect. Her veil glistened under soft lights. She looked divine. Amaka, her friend Zainab whispered, eyes wide with admiration. You look like an angel. Amaka smiled, but her hands trembled. Something felt off. Not fear, Not guilt, but a pressure in her chest she couldn't name. Zainab noticed. Cold feet. No, Amaka replied, adjusting her veil. I'm just ready. And she truly believed it. This was a final move. After today, no more subscription plans. No more juggling phones. Obi was her exit strategy. Her forever. In the hall, music began to play, soft, regal. Guests stood. All heads turned as the doors opened and Amaka stepped out, escorted by her uncle. Phones flashed. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Even the senator in the front row leaned forward for a better view. Obi, tall and dignified in his white agbada, beamed at her. His eyes sparkled with emotion. She reached the altar. The pastor smiled warmly and began the ceremony. We are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Obi and Amaka, he said. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. A beat. Then, suddenly, the LED screen behind them flickered. The guests gasped. At first, it seemed like a technical glitch. Then, a video loaded. A hotel room. Soft lighting. And there she was, Amaka, lying on a bed, wrapped in silk sheets, laughing into the camera. He just sent me 200,000 Nigerian nairas, her voice echoed through the hall. These men are too easy. I'm getting married, but I'll still keep him around for emergencies. A collective gasp surged through the crowd. Before Amaka could move, more clips began to play. Screenshots of flirty messages, bank transfers, selfies with other men, voice notes where she mocked them. I just pretend to cry. These guys love feeling needed. Let them pay for my feelings. The hall erupted in chaos. No, stop the video. Amaka screamed, turning toward the screen, eyes wide in horror. Zainab covered her mouth, frozen in disbelief. Amaka's mother collapsed in her seat. Her father stumbled forward, unsure whether to comfort his wife or his daughter. The pastor took a step back, muttering prayers under his breath. But Obi didn't say a word. He stood still, staring at the screen, as if trying to understand if it was a dream or a nightmare. His face lost all color. His hands trembled, but his jaw stayed clenched. When the final clip ended with a caption, "The Queen's True Kingdom," he slowly turned to look at her. Her veil slipped. "Obi, please," she whispered, tears flooding her eyes. "I can explain. Someone hacked." "Save it," he said coldly. "I should have known. God, I should have seen this. Obi, please." "I don't know who you are," he cut her off, "but you're not the woman I loved." He stepped away from the altar, handed his cap to the groomsman beside him, and walked out without looking back. The cameras followed him. So did half the guests. The rest sat in stunned silence. Some stared at Amaka in pity, others in disgust. She sank to her knees, gasping for breath, gripping her chest. Her mother wailed. Her father buried his face in his hands. The screen went black, and so did her world. Outside, social media had already exploded. Hashtag Amaka the scammer. Hashtag the wedding that was. Hashtag Queen of Lies. Clips from the screen were already circulating. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, all on fire. Memes popped up within minutes. She came for a wedding, got baptized in shame. Not a wedding, a premiere of Scam 101. From queen to clown in 60 seconds. At home, Chike sat in a dark room, phone in hand, watching the chaos unfold online. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He simply exhaled. It wasn't revenge. It was revelation. He had no interest in ruin. He wanted the truth to speak for itself. And it had. Back at the now empty hall, Amaka remained on the floor, veil crumpled, makeup streaked with tears. Her father slowly lifted her up, his voice trembling. "What have you done, Amaka?" But she had no answer, because even she didn't fully understand the storm she had walked into. The morning after the wedding, Amaka's name was everywhere, on timelines, on blogs, on radio shows, and even in WhatsApp prayer groups. Not in admiration, but in shame. Hashtag Amaka the scammer was the #1 trending topic in Nigeria. By 9 a.m., Her Instagram follower count had dropped by half. By noon, her sponsorship deals had been terminated. By evening, her brand ambassador contract with a major skincare company was revoked. Every company she had ever worked with released statements. We distance ourselves from recent events and do not condone such behavior. Her name had become poison. She sat in her apartment, still in her ruined wedding gown, makeup streaked and eyes red. The air was stale, thick with silence. Her 5 phones lay scattered across the floor, dead, smashed, or ignored. The emergency line blinked once, then went dark. The men had vanished like smoke in the wind. The woman who once had a man for every need now had no one, not even for comfort. There was a knock at the door. Yemi entered slowly, his expression unreadable. He took in the mess: the toppled furniture, torn veil, lipstick-stained napkins. "I saw the videos," he said, gently placing a nylon bag of water and paracetamol on the table. The whole country did. Amaka didn't respond. Yemi sat across from her. "I warned you, didn't I? I told you this path was lined with razors. But you laughed." Still, she said nothing. "I'm not here to judge," he continued. "I just wanted to see for myself how a queen looks when her crown is gone." Amaka slowly raised her eyes. "They destroyed me, Yemi." "No," he said calmly. "You destroyed yourself. They just watched." She winced. He softened. "I never wanted this for you. I begged you to stop. But you were too busy building an empire on quicksand. I wanted to be safe," she whispered. "To never beg, never cry the way my mother did when my father left. I promised myself, never again. And in doing so, you became the thing you hated." Tears trickled down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to hurt them. I thought I was in control." Yemi sighed and stood up. Control is an illusion when built on lies. He paused at the door. "You still have time to change, Amaka, but first, you need to face yourself." Then he left. By nightfall, social media had reached full circus mode. One meme showed a screenshot of her voice note laughing about 200,000 Nigerian nairas with the caption, "Data plan, 2,000 Nigerian nairas. Love plan, 200,000 Nigerian nairas. Humiliation, free delivery." Another read: "She had more men than MTN has subscribers." Even influencers who once called her queen now posted cryptic captions like, "Pride goeth before screenshot." Her closest friend, Zainab, posted a story. "I warned her, but pride is louder than wisdom." That one stung the most. At midnight, Amaka opened her laptop and stared at her empty inbox. All partnerships gone. Her calendar, once packed with shoots, brunches, brand meetings, was blank. She clicked on her bank app. 3 of her accounts were locked. The 4th had 12,000 Nigerian nairas left. Panic tightened her chest. Her landlord had sent a text earlier. "Due to your recent scandal, I'd appreciate if you vacate quietly before it affects my other tenants." Amaka closed the laptop and crawled into bed. The silence in her apartment was deafening. Her room, once a buzzing hub of phones, laughter, and online fame, felt like a forgotten tomb. The next morning, she tried to go outside just to buy bread. But the look she got, the woman at the shop refused to take her money. "I don't sell to people who use love as fraud." She walked back, heart pounding, breath shaky. Her legs felt like they'd betray her at any moment. She stared into her mirror later that night, touching her bare face, as if seeing herself for the first time. Where was the queen now? Gone. In her place stood a woman stripped bare of power, pride, and pretense. That evening, she posted a single Instagram story. "To everyone I hurt, I'm sorry. I lost myself chasing safety. But maybe pain is the only teacher left." The responses were mixed. Some mocked her. Others offered prayers. Most said nothing. 3 days passed. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. She just sat on her balcony, staring into the distance, wondering how everything could vanish so quickly. One night, she picked up the one remaining phone with a working SIM. She dialed a number. It rang once. Then a voice answered. "Hello?" It was Obi. Amaka's voice cracked. "I don't want your forgiveness. I just needed to say sorry." A pause. You hurt me, he said softly, but not because of what you did, because of who I believed you were. She swallowed. I didn't know how to be loved. Obi, I only knew how to survive. You didn't have to survive with me. Amaka, I was ready to love you, even your flaws. Another pause. Then he said, take care of yourself. The line went dead. That was the final nail. She dropped the phone, curled up on the cold floor, and let the sobs come. Sobs from a place even she didn't know existed. And for the first time in years, Amaka cried not because she was caught, but because she realized she was lost. The city whispered about her long after the noise had faded. Amaka was no longer a trending hashtag, but her story lingered in conversations, in quiet corners, in the stares people gave to beautiful girls walking alone. Mothers used her as a cautionary tale. Pastors used her as a sermon. And somewhere in the markets of Benin, children chanted her name as a rhyme. Amaka the queen, who lost her crown, wore a veil, then let it drown. She vanished 3 days after the wedding. No post, no goodbye. Just silence. At first, people assumed she had traveled, maybe to Lagos or Ghana. But by the second day, when no one could reach her and her apartment sat dark and locked, whispers turned to concern. Yemi tried calling. Zainab knocked on her door. Obi never asked, but even he paused one evening, standing alone on his balcony, eyes turned toward the wind, wondering if he should have said more during that last call. Then came the fourth morning. A fisherman, old and weathered from years of casting nets and dreams into the murky waters, found something strange along the riverbank. A white veil, soaked, tangled in reeds, barely visible. He pulled it out gently, thinking perhaps a wedding had happened nearby. But then he saw the shoes, ivory delicate, resting beside the bridge with perfect symmetry. Too perfect, as if someone had placed them there with intent. Tucked beneath one heel was a note, written in handwriting once praised for its elegance. I wanted the world to love me, but I forgot to love myself first. The news spread like wildfire. Again, hashtag Amaka by the river. Hashtag the final curtain. The police came. Drones searched. Divers combed the river. But they never found her body. Some said she must have changed her name and escaped. Others swore she had taken her own life, swallowed by the waters that now held her secrets. A few claimed they saw her in Enugu, working as a waitress under a new name. But no one could prove anything. What they did find was her diary, left neatly on her pillow, beside the one remaining phone that hadn't been smashed. Its pages were filled with confessions, regrets, and reflections. She wrote not like a queen, but like a girl lost in a storm she built herself. I thought love was currency. I thought strategy would keep me safe. But power without peace is a prison. Yemi was right. I wore the crown, but I was never free. I never learned how to receive love without controlling it. I'm sorry to every heart I broke while protecting my own. If you're reading this, tell the next girl, you don't need 10 men to feel worthy. You just need to feel whole on your own. The diary was never published, but copies of pages leaked online. And just like that, the story of Amaka became more than a scandal. It became a lesson. They turned the bridge into a memorial. Young women left flowers. Some lit candles. Others wrote their own regrets on scraps of paper and tossed them into the river, hoping for release. Zainab visited once, standing silently for an hour, tears soaking her hijab. She whispered a prayer and left a photo of them together. Laughing on a beach in Calabar, years before fame touched Amaka's life. Yemi came 2 weeks later. He didn't cry. He just stood still, gripping the railing, whispering, I hope you found peace. Then he dropped a folded letter into the water and walked away. Obi never came. But once, he was seen at a church, kneeling alone, eyes closed, holding a locket that contained a single photo of Amaka in her simplest form. Jeans, no makeup, her smile unguarded. Some say he forgave her. Some say he never would. As time passed, the story blurred. New scandals took over. New queens rose. But in Benin City, Amaka's tale lingered like a scar, visible only when touched. Teachers told her story to warn girls about fast money. Pastors used it to preach about vanity. But others, especially young women who had once admired her, spoke differently. She was human, one said, flawed but not evil. She made mistakes, another added, but who doesn't? She just didn't get a chance to recover. They began to refer to her as the girl who taught us. Not a villain, not a saint, just a girl who reached too high, too fast, and fell into the silence that comes after the applause. Years later, a local filmmaker released a short film titled The River Remembers. It wasn't a documentary. It was a poetic retelling, inspired by Amaka's rise and fall. It ended with a girl walking into the river, wearing a veil, then transforming into light. The final scene showed the bridge, quiet, still. A voiceover echoed, "Be careful how you treat people. You never know who's holding the screen that plays your truth." And so, in the folklore of Benin, Amaka lived on, not as a ghost, but as a reminder. That power is fleeting, that beauty fades, and that the heart, when bruised too many times, will either grow thorns or disappear entirely. The end. Enjoyed the story? We invite you to give a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing more beautiful stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your effort. See you again.